welcome back to episode 18 of the Add a Zero Challenge, where we try and take a $10,000 bankroll, run it up to $100,000 playing live poker. It's the 18th episode, and we're coming off a really great win last episode, $1,500 profit. Now, we aren't above where we started this challenge. We're at 4,500, but we're moving in the right direction, so I'm pretty happy about that. Let's get into the hands. First hand of the session, we look down at Ace-King offsuit. We're going to raise it up to 15 in this 2-5 game this morning. We get a call on the button for 15. I've never played against the button before. New player to me. Flop comes down 8-7-7 in a heads-up pot. We start with a check. Planning to check call here. They bet 20, and we call. Don't know anything about this player, but I think with our ace-king, we're good enough to continue to the turn. Turns the 3 of spades, and it goes check-check very quickly. River is the 4 of hearts. Now, we check. We have the ace of hearts in our hand, and our opponent decides to bet 40. So we're in a tough spot, right? We've got the ace of hearts. We have a bluff-catching hand, but hearts get there. The sort of bluffs that might have missed would be 9-10 suited, 10-jack suited, 6-5 suited gets there, and just kind of airballs, right? So we block the flush, but I think probably not knowing anything about our opponent, the right decision is to fold. And shows the 10-6 offsuit. First hand I've seen from this player. Obviously, this is some useful information for us going forward. He got the bluff through on the stream. I suspect that he came to the stream to bluff me. I really do. And he got it done. So, tough one. Tough little loss. We're moving on. Just for me, you know. Yeah. Looking down at king of clubs, queen of diamonds. We're going to raise it up to 15. Stream regular in seat 7 is going to fold. And then new stream regular from Luxembourg in the big blind is coming along for the ride. Flop is king 5-6, so there's 30 in the middle. I bet 10. I don't like the sizing. I think on the king 5-6 you want to bet bigger here. I think you want to bet something like 20 or 25. I even make mention to that. The sizing's too small. On the king 5-6, ace 5-6, queen 5-6, often you go for a bigger size. Turns the 5 of clubs, we go for a little bit more value, especially when we only bet 10 on the flop. I think we can continue to bet sizably because our opponent's range is wide. Obviously, this is not a good card for our king-queen, but still think we have a value bet. So we get a raise here up to 95. Yeah, this is a bad spot now. I mean, this is obviously not a happy moment. I don't know if that's 120 or if that's 95, but either way, I mean, it's a pretty similar spot. We are bluff catching in a spot where our opponent's saying that they have a 5. What are the hands that they could be bluffing with? Clubs, you know, like ace-high clubs, straight draws, and then just random stuff. Like people can do weird stuff with weird hands, so we don't always have to talk about what the logical hand would be here. Sometimes people bluff. But yeah, we're bluff catching with our king-queen against our opponents. Looks like I decided to peel one off here. We're pretty indifferent, like. You could just fold this turn as well if you know something about your opponent. 9 of clubs on the river. Check, check. And they show the 5. There it is. So the trip 5s is the hand that they had. We would definitely fold to a river bet on the club, of course. I think against some opponents, we can just fold to that check raise on the turn. Like, it's just really hard for people to bluff enough. I'm conscious of in this game, I'm streaming. And like the first hand of the episode, people want to bluff me on stream, so I can't make too many hero folds, right? I have to be kind of pretty standard-ish, I think. But, yeah, I wish I could have got away from that one. Moving on. Small loss. I think I have the coolest piece of poker software you've ever seen today. It is called Hybrid Poker. Brand new piece of poker learning software where you test your score against myself, against Daniel Negreanu, against Bill Perkins, and see how you score against the 3 of us, as well as other poker players as well. But Hybrid Poker learns about you, the player, this is really cool. As Hybrid Poker gets to know you, it's going to tell you what to work on. There's a link to the IQ test down below. Try it for free. I think you'll like it. So try it out. Looking down at the pocket 3s, talking about Croatia.
And there's a ferry from like the east coast.
Love Croatia.
There's this hill called.
So we get a raise from stream regular in seat 3. We get a call in the small blind. We're going to call in the big blind as well with our pocket 3s. And boom! Beautiful flop. Flopping middle set. We love it. We check to the regular with the yellow hat, who bets 100. And we are going to check raise to 270. and we actually get raised back to 700. So bet, raise, 3-bet on the flop. Now at this point, our stack is not super deep here. We don't have a lot of money behind. It's like maybe 400 behind. So I just decided to go all in, make sure we get all the money in against club draws as opposed to call and then let their bluffing range continue on the turn. But I'm a little bit surprised here in that when I go all in, they actually think for quite a while and fold. So it's kind of too bad that I didn't get the extra 400 on top of that. But I mean, massive pot, right? 1,400 just between the two of us with the middle set. Didn't have to fade running out a straight or flush draw or something like that. You know, and if our opponent thinks like, okay, I'm going to play this really fast with kings, and if he goes all in, he's always got a set. Like, I don't know. The problem is, like, I can have nut flush draw. I can have combo draws, right? Like, I can have ace-3 of clubs. Calling in the big blind, I can probably have 3-6 of clubs as well. I could probably have 3-4 of clubs that play this as aggressively. Yeah, so it's just kind of it's a spot where probably he just got caught with a bluff. He thought it was light, and I was not. So massive pot coming our way, moving in the right direction. Looking down at ace, queen of spades. A beautiful hand. Open to 20, a 3-bet to 60. We are going to call in position on these two. You really have to know your opponents on this, right? The game theory approach in this spot is going to be 4-bet. I decide to call and play in position as opposed to 4-bet against these opponents. I think is the right decision.
So they need to win back-to-back away from home.
And we go 3 ways to the flop.
It'll be tough. Yeah.
Flop is ace, jack, 4, rainbow. Continuation bet of what looks like 55. We're going to call. And a raise to 200. Fold. So the action's back on us here. This is a spot where you need to know your opponent. We've played with this player a decent amount. They have actually bluff shoved against us with like a 10-4 or something like that, right? So they're an action player. They're coming to play on the stream and give some action. So I think that they play very aggressively. When we see this, it's immediately nightmare sauce, right? Like, this is terrible. Because what do we beat, right? Like, what check raises on this board where there's no draws? You know, it's ace-jack, it's ace-4, it's jacks. I'm going to even talk through it here. But the thing is, my history with this opponent contributed to me being pretty light in this spot. So let's just play it out here.
How much?
And it's an all-in shove for about 600. Bit more, 650. The hand I'm most worried about is ace-king. But ace-king is probably going to re-raise pre-flop, especially knowing this player, capable of going all in with 10-4 to try and put the bluff on us on stream. I think when it goes raise to 15, 60, and we call, he's just going to bump it up pre-flop. So
I need a bit of time on this one.
it's hard to put him on a hand. We do end up making the call. It's a very light call. I mean, listen, don't copy this. You need to know your opponent. Like, this is a terrible call unless you really know your opponent. They actually show the same hand. Ace-queen, ace-queen. Chop it up. All that stress, all that pressure to chop up the money. I mean, this, like, even knowing my opponent, this might be a bad call because, you know, they show down ace-queen, so they're just actually, like, playing this hand very thinly for value. In a spot where they're going to run into some better hands for sure, but, like, they get me to hero call and we have the same hand. Maybe they just don't have bluffs. Maybe this is their worst hand, in which case, like, this is a terrible call. It's tough to say. We made a read based on our opponents, and after all that stress, we chop it up. We move on. Get a raise to 15 and a call in C7. We look down at 8-6. Not a great hand, but closing the action 4 ways. I think we can make a profit with this hand. It's a little bit outside of game theory optimal, but I think we can find the call. Flop is ace-4-5, 2 clubs. Looks like I bet a 35 here. It is indeed. It's a pretty small bet on the flop. We call. So we go to the turn, which is a 4 of hearts. What you'd think is not a great card for them. And we're going to lead out for 60 here. This is a card that we're going to have definitely more than them. Like, they're not going to hit it very much. Now, we're not going to hit it much either, for what it's worth. But we call in the big blind, so we have hands like 4x in our range. Whereas they call in the cutoff, so how many 4s do they have? Well, ace 4, right? Like, that's probably 8. Ace 4, maybe 4-5 suited. It's really hard to have those hands. So this is going to be a slight advantage us when we call in the big blind and we call a bet on the flop. You know, we could have 4x of diamonds and continue, for example. We could have maybe have like a 4-6, something like that. So we decide to lead, but it's still a little bit optimistic because, well, we can have a bunch of straight draws, right? Like we can have missed clubs, we can have 6-7, we can have 6-8, we can have 7-8, we can have stuff like that. But I decided to lead anyways with my 6-8. Not that I should bluff here often, but we have one of the best hands to bluff, I think. We don't block the club draws. We have a hand that's definitely not going to win a showdown. And we would love to start putting pressure on hands like king high clubs, like queen high clubs, like jack high clubs, like those middling straight draws. And if they're sort of making a bit of a move on the, you know, on the flop where they're betting less than an ace, they're going to be in a tough spot on the river. So we go for a little lead here, planning to, you know, go for a big bomb on the river probably to try and rep something big. But we don't get it done on the turn as you wouldn't expect. It looks like we bet 65 there. River is a 7, so we actually make our hand, which is like we had 4 outs, you know, and maybe even 3 outs to make our hand. So we go for a pot size bet, 300, even a little bit more actually. I think that's a slight overbet. Our opponent folds and we win the pot. We don't get action. I don't know what our opponent had, and that is the end of the session. So after all of that, we ended up making just under $1,000, taking the bankroll to 55.31. 55.31. Cashed out for 1980. So pretty amazing stuff. Nice comeback on the way. Being down to $3,000 to be on the upswing is a really, really good feeling. And I'm happy with how it went. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'd love to see you come back and hang out once again. Let me know any thoughts you have in the comments down below. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you later. Goodbye.